Here we go. We are live on a Sunday evening for the Truth Proof live stream. And welcome, Paul.
Welcome, Les. Yeah, it's soon past this weekend, hasn't it? It's been a busy week and weekend. I've really had a good week this week. How about you?
Yeah, busy. Yeah, busy on the computers at this end, and I know you've been doing a bit of research this week, which we'll probably talk about as the show goes on.
Well, if you can call it research. I mean, I know people talk about being researchers. We're just out there in the field doing what we do, but there's not just me. There's other people out there, and it's I suppose I'm one that's gathering information and writing it down. Let's put it that road. But without these other people, there's nobody. So they're just as important. So yeah, it's been interesting. I've had a great week, and week previous Mick Park were here. I had a great time with Mick. Good spending some time with him. And this week Martin Abbas has been here, and Martin's in chat now. What a great guy to be around, truly. I'm not just saying it because I can see his name in chat. Just really, really positive person. So
yeah.
Go on, though.
Yeah, so on the good news side is you probably, if you've read in tonight's description, we are doing a free prize giveaway. So we'll give you all the information that you need to know a little bit later on in the show. And if Paul hadn't already mentioned it, we do have a guest contributor on tonight by the name of Heidi, and she's got some very interesting accounts to give us.
Yeah, just some strange life experiences that probably everybody in chat or some in the chat will relate to in one way or another. So they're quite good. But let's have a look at this chat for a moment, Les. We've got Lee, Rivington Pike, Tony Worrell, Alison, thanks for moderating, Adam Sandor, Elaine, Mrs. Linney, Gordon, I know Martin's in, Martin Abbas, Simon Riley, Steph, Ian Linney's in, Pete will be watching, no doubt. There's a great friend of mine, Al Durham, Ben22, Enigma, Welsh Wend. I've not seen that name before, so thanks for joining us, Steve O, 71. And let's have a look. There's 88 in chat. I've probably said 20 names. Simon Riley, Hiya Simon, Rick Behrman, Diane Farrell, Karen Behrman, Philip Watson, Mary Sinclair. I think I know her. I've known her for the last 44 years. Mark Anderson, 9 Inches, Gordon and Julie. Yeah, everybody's there. Selma Carrick. So if I haven't said Dragonborn, I've got to stop. Diane Farrell. Stop me, Les. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, so we really appreciate your support for coming on tonight, because it is in the UK. It's a pretty warm night, isn't it, Paul? So
it's been a great day. I've been out early in the morning and didn't get back, well, I don't know, a few hours ago. But yeah, I had a really good day and a good weekend, So yeah, no complaints.
All right, then. Before we bring Heidi on then for her accounts, I just want to sort of like tie in something that's running through my mind. And this is an account what you've picked up from these last few days, where you've heard these sounds and recorded these sounds at Bempton. And at Bempton, we can sort of like tie it in with the last shot that we did, and maybe it's similar kind of sounds. Maybe you could explain a little bit about that, Paul.
Yeah, you're spot on that we can tie it in, because how ironic that we put a short up about this young guy who'd heard strange sounds in Danes Dyke, and here we are now talking about strange sounds that 6 of us heard on cliff tops on Friday night. I don't know what time, and I know we will know time, and he'll put it up, but we'll say 9:30. There were me, Martin, Linny, Pete, Jeremy. There were 6 people there, and Siggy, Mick Sigson.
Yeah.
And I'll just go through this before we bring Heidi on. Martin said, "Can you hear the sound?" And we're up there. It's just, as you know, nights getting a little bit darker, and that the dusk. Everybody kind of took no notice of him, not because we were being ignorant, but he says, "No, guys, can you hear that sound?" So we're on a platform, a viewing platform, which is decking, goes round in like a horseshoe. We stopped, listened to what he'd got to say, and sure enough, right under our feet, there's a sound. I can't quite describe it. It's Ian said, and we all thought, is there some kind of movement underneath us, as in the cliff? Like, I don't know, some earth falling away. It's like I'm not even going to try and do it. I can't describe sound. and we're listening to it, and then we look over the railing, and it's in an horseshoe, so there's an area that's just full of nettles, and then it's at the other side of the railings. None of the foliage has moved, as in an animal, and it's making this noise, this pop, 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 this hollow sound. And the next thing, it's down the cliffs, and we can hear it. Literally gone over the cliff, and we can hear it. And then the next thing, it's on the field. You know, when I talk about this hill, this strange, where quite a few anomalies have taken place. Well, Jeremy's walked up onto hill, and he can hear it. So I think 3 of us walked up there, and we can hear it there. So what it was, I don't know. It was odd because, you know, the 6 people, 6 lots of eyes, we never saw anything. Yet we've got this sound that's moving. And then probably 10 minutes later, you know, I know Martin's in chat and Lynn is in chat, so they might correct me. But about 10 minutes later, we could hear distant fireworks in Bridlington. Now, and they'd been let off at that time. That weren't what we were listening to on the, you know, this, whatever we were listening to was under our feet, which were odd. You know, I think Ian said, "In that strange that we've heard them sounds." Everybody knows sounds of distant fireworks, that pop, pop, but you can hear it. And were there something playing tricks, or are we being too imaginative? I don't know, but it were definitely there. 6 people don't get it wrong when they're listening to something, Les. So fascinating.
So when it was heard from the hill, did it seem to be under his feet or just in that vicinity?
Just in front of him, and it were moving. Listen, we heard it directly under his feet. All of us stood listening to it. Martin had heard it 5 minutes before, but said nothing. Not because he didn't want to. He's just kind of analysing what have I just heard. Then he brought it to our attention. Then it moved across the decking, which would be probably, I don't know, 15 feet away. Started. Then you go down the cliffs. Obviously, you can't climb down them unless you want to end your life. So it's down the cliffs. We're listening to it there. Jeremy walks around to look from the other perspective to see if he can see what's doing it. It's in the field. We all walk up. It's making the sound there. So God knows what it was. But how interesting. It wasn't the same sound that's described in Dane's Dyke. But here we are. We've just put a short on about the young guy who's heard something strange in Dane's Dyke a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember the date. And so we're dwelling on strange sounds. And suddenly, we're hearing strange sounds. It's not the first time, but that 6 people. I mean, we're not getting it wrong.
It would be good to know if anybody else has been up there and heard strange sounds, either metallic as described by the young man in the short video, or the sound that you described tonight.
Well, I put a DJI camera on, as usual, after the sound. So I'm filming this, and I've got us all talking about it. No doubt we'll put it up as a short. Luckily, Martin Abbas started recording it. He thinks I haven't listened to it yet, Martin. Thinks it, because he only sent it me later this afternoon. He thinks he's got the sound. Thinks he's captured it on the phone in the first few seconds, because then it stopped and went somewhere else. So make of that what you will, because I've not got an answer for it. As with everything else that we look into, I don't really have an answer to any of this. But has anybody, any of our team? Let's have a look. Martin Abbas, the light phenomena. Mark it up. No. So I'm just looking.
I just want to do
it was right under our feet, and then it moved with no way and moved that distance. Yeah, it's strange.
I'd just like to put one question on the screen, Paul, before we come to Heidi, and
okay,
and it's to do with your childhood. 1423, actually, a question for time. Why do you think the entities came to you in your room as a child rather than take you out and bring you back? Concerned they'd be discovered by your parents?
It's one that we'll never know, 14, isn't it? You know, it's I'm here. I am talking in front of 123 people.
Yeah, and just for the benefit of the people who just give them a little recap of that event, Paul.
Well, it's not events; it's things that happened throughout my childhood. But you're right, Les. It's just I wrote the book Night People about incidents with they weren't human beings. They were, whatever they were, people would call them aliens. I'm reluctant to call them aliens because we don't know where they were from, but I saw them throughout childhood from a very early age. But I've no recollection of ever being anywhere bar my room, but my bedroom. Do you know, the few things happened in different locations, but it were always in the bedroom that I saw these things. Now, why didn't they take me and bring me back? I don't know. I wonder, 14, if they ever take anybody and bring them back. I don't know. We know people have got these memories of being in different locations, but I mean, you don't know what these things could put into your mind. And I'm not pretending to be some expert on this because I really haven't got a clue. It's difficult. I don't know is the answer to that, which weren't very useful to anybody, were it? But there you go.
Okay, then we only do have 1 hour tonight, folks, and at this point we will bring our guest contributor in, Heidi, and welcome, Heidi.
Hiya.
Oh, yeah,
Hi,
well, it's
Paul.
good. No, you're welcome, and it's great that you're going to share a few of these accounts with myself and Les. Well, Les is gone now, but we're really looking forward to it. And I know we spoke earlier in the week, and you'd said a few strange things had happened in your life, and I don't know whether some people might find it profound, other people might say, well, that's just par for the course. But just tell us a little bit about yourself then, Heidi, before we start, just a few minutes or a minute or so.
Oh, okay. So I live in South Oxfordshire. Always had an interest in sort of the strange. And big Art Bell fan, probably one of the few that were listening sort of like 97 onwards in the UK. An extended interest in sort of UFOs and cryptids and things. Probably my interest stems from something we're going to talk about tonight, I think. And just probably an 8 out of 10 on the hopeful skeptic. I know that there's something out there. I just don't know what it is, and I kind of just want to know, and I don't want to form an opinion until that point. But been sort of around the area for a very, very long time, just
searching for answers,
enjoying it, yeah, and searching for answers and filing all the information the way you get in your brain so you can cross-reference it with other stuff that you hear later down the line and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, then I know what we spoke about in week, so I'll just put you on the spot and let's kick it off with I think it was 2011 and The Strange Man. Just share that with us, please.
Okay, so this is about 2011. So just want to sort of paint a little picture for everybody. I was working nights, but I was working from home. I was working for a major national newspaper, and I was working from 8 p.m. till 5 a.m. So, and I was the only person that was working at that point. So I was it was probably about 1 or 2 in the morning, and I was talking to some friends on Skype, and I was just sat there doing my work and just having a chat, and that was quite nice. And we lived in Acton at that point, in sort of like a mid-19th century terrace. So it was like 2 up, 2 down, lounge, and all of that. And there was a door to the hallway. So my desk was looking out onto the front of the lounge, and to the right was the door into the hallway. So going away, doing my job, having a chat with my friends, turn and look to the right, to the doorway. And a man walked in, but I couldn't. He was translucent, and it was ridiculous to me at that point because I'd not heard of any of this stuff about predator movements and pixelation and everything. But this guy was almost like he was made of water. I could see the outline of what he was wearing. He looked like a working class guy from the 18th, 19th century. He was quite thick built. He had a jacket on, he had a waistcoat on, he had very baggy trousers and workman's boots and a cap. And he half jogged into the room. It took about 2 seconds, and then he just disappeared. And he was see-through, and I did not know what had happened. And I said to my friends, something very strange has just happened, but I don't think I want to say what it is, because I didn't really believe it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to think. And I didn't actually tell them what had happened until about 2 years later. And I said, because we were all, one of my friends is in the States, and my friend was from up north. So we got to a position where we were in the same physical space. And I said, now let me tell you what happened. And they both remembered it, because they said, you sounded like you were completely freaked out. And I was. And since then, there's been reports of things pixelated, and you see videos and things, and people describe things like Bruce Maccabee's wife and things like that.
And what did you think that? I know. Did you think it was aware of you?
No, I don't think it was aware of me. I think it was just doing what it did, and I happened to see it.
Yeah. So, and I'll throw this out. Anybody got any questions for Heidi, or any observations on what she's just shared? Put them in block capitals for us, please, because we've got a short time tonight, haven't we? And how did you feel? You're in a conversation on Skype with two other people.
Yeah.
One of them surreal moments. Was it a watered down back kind of moment, that fear moment, or was it just, wow, what have I just seen?
I don't think I was scared. There was no feeling in the room.
No.
A few months later, I came back into the room in the middle of the night when I was working, and there was a mouse on my desk, and that actually freaked me out more. I was like, oh, but there was it was like you said, it was surreal, and I had never seen anything or heard of anything like that. I wasn't expecting it. There was no malicious feeling in the air. I didn't feel scared. But I was like, I've got no idea what that is. And
yeah, because you've described something, like you've just said, you didn't know about the Predator movie, but you've described something that almost sounds science fiction. But then you've told us its clothing is, what do you say, 18th century, early 19th century?
Yeah, you know what you'd expect a working class man
to
wear around that time, and it was almost down to the detail where I could see the outline of everything, but I couldn't see him.
Yeah, but it doesn't fit the narrative of what people would think of as a ghost, does it?
No. And so I was like, I've got no idea what I've just seen, but I don't want to say what it was.
No, that's fine. I don't know how Les wants to play this, whether if there were any questions in to go with them for this one, or whether we just move on to another strange cameo of an unusual event. So unless he comes in, what we'll do is right, we've got one here. Enigma, when it disappeared, what was it like? It was did it just switch off, or did it fade away?
I think it just switched off. He came in, I think it lasted about 2 seconds. He sort of jogged in, and then there was nothing. So as soon as it started, it finished. So he was there, like he'd just come home from work, literally. But he jogged. He had a jaunty. It wasn't just a stride. It was like, oh, I'm happy, sort of thing. I could tell that it was a jaunty stride, and then bang, gone.
And is that property that you lived in at the? We'll do Ben's in a moment, so leave it up, Les. Is that property that you lived in old enough to have had somebody at some point in its existence living there of that age?
Yeah, I presume so. It was sort of like late Victorian terrace. Yeah.
And so Ben 22 says, have you seen it since?
No, I've not seen it since. I've not seen anything like that since.
J. Austin, any smell whilst you witnessed this?
No, there was no smell. There was no smell. There was no sound. It was literally like something burst in from perhaps somewhere else and then disappeared just as quickly.
Yeah, well, Heidi, you experienced it, not us. So, what's it left you thinking? Did you see it in your mind? Was it a ghost? What it a parallel existence that's playing out? What do you think it was?
I don't know how I feel about ghosts. And you know, I think in all the sort of strange phenomena that's around and that people talk about online and things like that, that normally I would find interesting, I don't have an interest in ghosts, and I never really have. And I don't know if that's because I don't want to think about that, or whether it's because I don't believe in it. I kind of tend towards the fact that I don't believe in it, but I think that might also be because I don't want to mess around with anything like that. So what do I think it was? It almost strikes me as something that would have always been there, but I was just around to see it at that moment.
Okay, a sort of right time, right place situation.
Yeah, I was thinking about this and how I'd explain it is, so if you think about Douglas Adams, he writes in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy an SCP field, which is somebody else's problem. Yeah, so you don't notice it because it's somebody else's problem. And I wonder if at that moment I was within the sphere of seeing this because I was where I was at that point.
Okay.
So I saw it.
Right. Okay. So 40 and 23. And thanks for that, Heidi. What sort of height, size, any noise?
There was no noise. It was completely silent. And I would say he was about 5'10", 5'11", because I was sat there and I could see him come in, and the range from the top of the door.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. And we've got another one. Did the atmosphere change, or were there any cold spots by any chance?
No. This is the thing. I mean, I suppose I would expect, if I was going to experience something like this, my expectation would be I'd feel some foreboding, something would happen, I'd feel cold. It wasn't like that. It was literally, I was talking to my friends, I turned over, I saw a guy come in the door, and I was like, okay, nothing else has changed apart from the fact that I have no understanding of what's going on. So if there was any experience, atmosphere change, and it was the fact that I was completely turned on my head and I had no idea what was going on.
No,
I don't think the atmosphere changed, apart from the fact that I was extremely freaked out.
No, it's honestly, Heidi, it's a fascinating story. I mean, and I like the fact that what you describe is what people are talking about. You know, the hunters and other people in forests when they're seeing this sort of pixelated, almost, you said it perfectly, look like water, the shape of in the shape of a man, essentially, or a woman, but in older clothing, sort of from an older time. You know, I don't know how that fits, but don't mean that you didn't see it or experienced it. Tell us about the rectangle of gold light, if you can, please.
Yeah, so I was about 12 years old, and we were living in Newbury at sort of the top of the hill, sort of West Berkshire. So we were looking towards the north. So we had a big view from where we were in our front garden leading up to the front door. I don't know what time it was. Can't remember. It was the afternoon sometime. And I was walking up, and I turned around to look just at the view, because even as an 11-year-old, I sort of appreciated the view and I enjoyed it. And it was a fairly cloudy day, and in the east there was a bright light coming through the clouds, and this bright light started to get into a shape as it came through the clouds, and it was a rectangle. It turned into a rectangle that was the color of the sun. Now, I knew that the sun was going to be much further to the west. I knew that was going on, that could not be the sun.
Right.
It was a rectangular shape. And it stayed there, and I sort of ran indoors and said, come and look, come and look at this. Nobody would come. And I just watched it probably for about 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden it just faded back into the clouds. And I remember it forming as a long rectangle, very short sides, but along
and sharp though, sharp edges.
Yes, so sharp edges. It was almost the nearest shape you can get to is a letterbox.
Okay.
Yeah.
That.
And it was the color of the sun.
And it's fascinating. And do you know there's a lady, an artist, who were painting up on Bempton Cliffs, obviously seascapes and what have you, but she claimed that she saw a rectangle in the sky on a nice blue day, but it were dripping gold light. I know that you've not said anything about that, but that's what she said.
Oh, that's odd, isn't it? No, I don't remember it dripping anything. I just remember a hugely vibrant. It was the absolute color of the sun. So it wasn't. It wasn't. It was almost like it was trying to mimic the exact brightness, intensity, and color of the sun.
Yeah. I suppose we're always going to get, we'll never know, will we, to be honest, Heidi, but we're always going to get people saying a strange atmospherics or something. Les has appeared now, so we must have a few questions, or what's happening, Les?
Well, we're going to announce the prize draw and give you the instructions of what you need to do to win a prize. And basically, if I put this on the screen, this is what you need to type into the chat. And while that's on, Paul will tell you what's on offer if you win tonight's prize.
Well, it's not 10K. But
no. Hashtag Paul 10K is what you need to put in the chat, and that only, and you'll be forward into the draw.
Yeah. So basically, we'll have two prizes. It'll be a DVD or a book. I've no truth proof ones at the moment. I'll have to place an order this week for some. But if anybody did decide if they won and they wanted a truth proof one, you might have to wait a week, but that's not a problem. So yeah, any book of your choice or a DVD. And yeah, that's where we are with it, Les. So it's first time, this is Les's idea, and I'm all for it. It's good. So yeah, that's great.
And when the winners are announced, you'll need to send an email to Paul with your postal address, obviously.
Yeah, and we'll get that in the post to you. And we don't pick this, do we, Les? How does this work?
All by computer. All by computer. So
so obviously,
no favoritism from us.
Yeah. So if it's somebody overseas in America, it's still going to go to you. It's not. There's no. That's just how it is. Okay, Les.
So great. 25 entries, 27 entries so far. So yeah, and we'll do the draw. What time do you want to do the draw, Paul?
Well, you decide.
We'll run it for until let's have a look, 20 to 8 or something like that. So that's about, I don't know, about 12 minutes. 12 minutes to get your hashtag Paul 10K into the
that's brilliant. Well, you stay here now, Les, if you want. If there's any more questions, because a few more might have come in for Heidi about her first experience. I don't know the man. I did see a few.
Let's have a look through. Right then.
I hope Linny wins this or somebody like that, because I can just book round to their house.
No, that would be favouritism, Paul, wouldn't it?
It's not to do with me.
Don't say that, because he could win it. Yeah.
No, well, if he does, it'll not be my choice. This computer's doing it. Right, go on, Les.
Okay, so 1423. Did it feel like it cloaked, or that it literally disappeared completely? Did it leave you feeling it was still there? And he's liking it to the fisherman who gave his report, and it followed him home.
He did disappear completely. I don't. Well, I mean, as far as I was aware, he disappeared completely. I don't feel like he was still there, and we had never had any issue before or previous. And I did start to sort of like have a look around at about the same time, because I would work 7 days on, 7 days off. So I was pretty much around half the time at that point. and it stuck with me enough so I'd have a look sort of furtively. But no, I didn't feel like he was there. It wasn't a scary house. There was no feelings of, oh, there's something here, and there wasn't at all.
No.
So I think that, I don't know. I mean, perhaps he was doing his rounds in the multiverse, and that was his time to come through this one, or and that's what happened. It was just really odd.
It's fascinating.
A question from Steve071. A good question, actually. Do you have pets? If so, did they react?
No pets at that point. No.
Right.
No.
No, that's interesting. Just before you move on from that, though, the pets seem, the dogs, cats, they seem to perceive something that we're not seeing. A lot of people in chat will know Mary's little dog, Bobster, and odd times he started looking at wall. It's nuts, and he actually goes and looks at the wall, and you sat there watching TV and you're thinking, what's he looking at? Because everybody's seen a dog that sees a fly or something, and they kind of follow it round, don't they? But now this is in evening, and Ed will go up and then he'll jump off his little chair and he's looking at wall. So they do see something, I don't know what.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay's got a good question. Any interference to you using
Oh,
scan
yes.
for any energy fluctuations on the equipment that you were using at the time?
No, really good question. Everything was absolutely as it was. Skype was as good as it was in 2010, 2011. So not brilliant, but but that would have been, I think that if something like that had happened, that would have actually scared me. I would have then started to feel fear. But no, he turned off. He turned up, had a jog into the house, and then disappeared, leaving me a bit freaked out until the end of the night. Yeah,
that's brilliant. And just one more before we get a question, because I see that our Noah's there. So he says, "Hi, Grandad. How you go? Hi, mate. You all right?" So yeah, go on then, Les. What's this
Lee
one?
Roscoe, question: have there been any deaths in the family before or after Heidi? RIP if there was.
No.
Okay.
I didn't feel like there was any affinity with this, whatever this was. It was I suppose, I mean, looking at it critically, I would almost tend to say that it was like another type of signal that just turned up for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'll tell you what you've done here, Heidi, for me and Les, because there's I don't know, there's 143 in chat now. It'll be interesting. I bet other people have seen and experienced not necessarily what you saw, but something similar. So we want to hear about it because it'll be great to sort of expand on this. So you've opened a little door for us here, Heidi. So thank you with this account.
You're welcome.
Heidi, you said you didn't feel any affinity towards it, but do you think the reverse could be true, where it had some affinity with the house or you?
He may have had some affinity with the house. I didn't feel like he was trying to interact with me. The only interaction that he had was that he came through the door, so he knew where the door was because he used it as he should have. It's not like a ghost going through a wall because a wall wasn't, had just sort of been built since he'd gone or whatever. He used the door as he should have. Perhaps that was his affinity with the house. He knew where it was. He knew where the door was, and he was happy when he came home.
What do you know, Les? And people in chat have spotted it as well. You've just come up with something there that tells us that whatever it was must have been tied to that property, because it didn't pass through wall, it passed through door.
Yeah.
Or came through door, which is interesting, isn't it? I know that don't mean it must be because Paul said it, but it kind of ties in. Do you want to expand on this, or do you want us to move on to another one, like the recording?
I don't mind, whichever you'd like. If you want to know a bit more, or
I'll leave it to Les because he knows what's in front of him.
Any buzzing or humming with either experience? Heidi?
No, I'm. It's obviously no, nothing. It was incredibly sterile. I would say that would be a good descriptor. It was sterile in as much as he came through the door. I don't believe that he was paying any attention to me. That was just what he did.
Mm.
And there with the light was just there. There was kids playing in the playground. Nobody was paying any attention, and it kind of just from what you've said in the previous week, Paul, is that sometimes perhaps people's experiences are just for them.
Just for them. I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, you're right.
Adam Sandor, Heidi, how long was it before you were able to tell of this happening? Did you ever doubt what you saw? That's a good question.
I never doubted it because I was working at night, but I was very used to working nights, and so I knew I wasn't half asleep. It wasn't something like it was a sleep paralysis or something. I was awake during my working hours, and I was awake and aware, and I was talking to my friends, and also my friends' reaction to it was like, "Are you okay? There's something that's really shook you up." And I did tell them. I told them 2 years later, and they both exactly remembered what I was talking about because I was so.
They could see it affected that on you, yeah.
Yeah.
Just before we move to a question, because I can see this down here, Shake Television says we might be interested to know that this stream is not showing up in the subscription list, and they are subscribed. Well, I don't know why that is, Shake, but we'll have a look at that. Not tonight, obviously, because we're doing this now, but I'm glad you've found us, and great to see you here. I saw Linny had put a question in about he'd seen something similar. Well, perhaps, there he is. Let's just put it on.
Ian Linny, Heidi, I have seen something very similar some time back now. It was moving away from me, and it just faded away. Paul knows all about this.
I do. And I'll tell you what, Ian, we won't go into detail about it, and I don't want to put you on the spot tonight, but you might want to. I always think it's better if coming from horse's mouth, so to speak. And there's nobody can tell Heidi's story better than Heidi, and there's nobody can tell Ian's better than Ian. So we can either record it, Ian, or I will do it next week if you don't want to. So yeah,
I would be interested to know when that was as well, because I think the thing for me is that it always sat there in my head that this was a really strange thing that had happened, and I knew that it was strange. And then I started to hear about people saying that things were pixelated in the woods and people were seeing it, and I was like, oh, okay. I saw that years ago, and it also sort of cemented that, because it's like somebody just asked a question, are you sure that this is what you saw? And it cemented that, it sounded ridiculous then. Then started to sound slightly less ridiculous because other people were seeing it, but I'd never ever heard of another issue like that, of people seeing things in that manner. And I think that's why I was so kerfuffled, really.
Yeah, I think that's why, and I don't mean our channel in particular, but these channels and these platforms are brilliant because you're sharing something that someone will relate to. We'll definitely get more information about similar events. I can move on to another one, Les.
Okay, no, well, I just want to get a reminder in, if anybody hasn't put their hashtag Paul10K into the chat for the draw, then do so now, because I'm just going to leave it up for another couple of minutes, then we'll do the draw.
Okay, that sounds good. So we might break into what you're saying about saying, Heidi, but tell us about the recording, 1977, please.
Okay, so everybody's going to work out how old I am now, but I was about 5 years old, and we were living in Newbury, and this is quite a famous event. And so you were talking to me at the start about, how I got interested in the subject and everything, and I think this is the root of it.
Okay.
And I was, I think it was November, and I was watching telly. It was about 5 o'clock, and all of a sudden there was static on the telly, and then a noise, and I remember this extremely clearly. And I was like, oh, telly's broke. So I went and got my mum, and I said, Mum, the telly's broken. So she came in, and then what then transpired is what is now known as the Vrillon recording, which is when people say it's a fake, or people say that it was hijacked as a prank or something. I don't quite know how that could have happened in sort of like 1977 in to a TV transmitter with people's technology, but
then it was nationwide, weren't it?
No, it wasn't. It used the Hannington transmitter, which covered Greenham Common, AWE, AWRE, which is sort of nuclear weapons testings place. And so this message went on to say that it was the Vrillon Galactic Command, and gave a load of prophecies about what would happen, all the while breaking into this TV news program. It was a very strange voice, and I remember sat there with my mum listening to this at 5 years old, and it was the strangest thing that had ever happened to me. And I always remembered it. I remembered it very, very, very clearly. I have a sense memory of it. It's that deep. And so there's lots of talk about it on the internet. You can go and look up, and people will say, oh, it's a fake. And there's actual recordings of it on YouTube. But I suppose, for me, that was the thing that cemented in my 5-year-old's head that there was something out there that wasn't, that we didn't know about.
So you'll just stop when you're ready, when you're doing this draw. But I don't know anything about this. I know about the recording, but I've never heard it.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever, any organisation or group of people ever come out and said, we're responsible for this?
No.
Anybody in chat know this? Tell us, because I'm fascinated. And what were the prophecies? So, and I'm not expecting you to know them word for word, but can you remember?
So it was something about our money running out, the environment, which is very unusual for them to be talking about that in the 70s. Wars, our leaders were evil. So general conspiracy theories, I presume, really, and that's sort of a bit of a throwback from the 60s. But it was the language that it used, which was like a very high form of English, like a very posh way of speaking. And it was a very particular accent, and the way it spoke, and the way that the transmission broke into the news. And it kind of came in, and I remember saying to my mum when it started, I don't understand what they're saying, because it sounded like it was tuning itself to English. And if you listen to the recording, you can sort of hear that. And it was transformational for a 5-year-old, I think. Because then I was like, oh, okay.
Thank you. So what we'll do, we'll jump over to Les then, Heidi, for a moment.
Yeah, we are at that point now, and you've got 10 seconds, people, if you haven't wrote hashtag Paul10K into the chat. And we just wish everybody who has entered, that's 52 entries I can see on the screen.
Oh, very good.
I'll give them a few more seconds, see if it'll pop up to 53. If nobody wants to come into the draw, then
if it doesn't work, people, it's Les's fault. If it works, I've thought of it.
If it doesn't work, it's StreamYard's fault. Okay. They've set all this up right just for us. And okay, then can you do the drum roll, Paul?
Right. Well, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, here we go. There's all the names. I'll do was winner 1, and congratulations.
So you contact me, Paul Sinclair, ilf@gmail.com.
Yeah,
and we'll get that out to you.
We'll put that on the screen before the end of the show. And you want to do another draw?
Yeah, let's do another one.
Let's have a look then. Let's see if it will do another one from here. Which I don't think. Oh, right, here we go. Yeah, right. Hang on then. 3, 2, 1. for another prize. Here we go.
I thought it was going to sell Linny then. I just Steve 071. Yes, all good. So
Steve 071. There's the two winners then for tonight.
Just email me, Paul Sinclair, ilf@gmail.com, and we'll get that sorted. Book or DVD, and all good. And we'll do a few more of them. We'll try and incorporate a few more of them in streams because you guys are giving us great support. So it's nothing for us to do a little bit back for you guys.
Yeah,
thank you.
Congratulations to Aldo and Steve 071, and commiserations to everybody else who didn't win. Right then, so where are we up to then? Have we got
questions for?
We've got some
Heidi?
questions. I don't think we. Right then, I've just got this remark. Yeah, Lenny Heidi, I've seen some things very similar.
We've done that one.
We've done that one. Yeah, we've done that one.
And obviously, just before we move off it then, because obviously I put Lenny on spot and said, well, you come on and tell us about it. But it is quite amazing. And it's when he were doing some work, because if he comes on and tells us, he'll do it better than me. And he were doing some work at a building close to Christchurch. Steps outside for a bit of fresh air. Afternoon time, I think. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. And there's a 6-foot fence with steel railings, spikes on top, all the way down this passageway. Can't think of name at passage, but it's at the back of Victoria Road. And he watches an oval-shaped mirage, should we say? Everybody's looked at the heat haze when you look at it on a road and you can see it. Well, this is just oval-shaped. 3 or 4 foot off ground. I'm struggling to say its size, Lenny, because I can't remember what you told me, but I think we're looking at about 3 foot by 2 foot deep, defined shape that's just like jelly, and it's moving down fence. Told me about it years ago. We actually stood over at road looking at the building where he'd seen this, and fascinating. But as I said, there's nobody can tell these stories better than the witness. So yeah, he's seen something similar. And I appreciate you sharing it. Go on, Les.
Okay, then. Some regular questions. Steve 071. Hypothetical. Do you think you would cope differently now if you had another night visit, Paul? Has the years of experience and reports from others possibly helped you?
I don't think I would. I genuinely do not think I would, because, and I don't say it blasé as though I've got an handle on this. I just know that as a child, I was never ready. It had always happened, and I were always analysing what had happened, if analysing's the right word, after event. Because when you're caught up in it, you can't do nothing. And as an adult, when it happened in bedroom here last time, when they put them holes in my back in 1997 stroke, just before 1998, I told my son all that, what you're saying, and I was going to be ready. That's my phone, by the way, people. We're just going to have to put up with it. I told myself I was going to be ready, but I weren't. I knew what was going to happen, but I couldn't do anything about it. And I don't know as any of us can. Maybe some people can. I couldn't.
Okay, thanks for that, Paul. Steve 71 again. Have Les and Paul been able to shoot any new footage for your next documentary? Well, we've already shot some. I'll just start off by saying we've already shot quite a bit, but not anywhere near as enough that we really want for a full documentary as yet.
No, we haven't. But as Les says, we have done a bit. In fact, more than I realised, because obviously when we finished Wolflands, we jumped straight into it. We said we're going to start another one after a month or two, just having a bit of a rest from it, because it had been intensive, because we've done a documentary regardless of what people think, and it took 3 years, and it was just me and him, as I say, Les. just literally on it. Literally, it were hard work, and but we've got quite a bit of footage, but we want more. We were hoping to go film tomorrow, but it's not panned out. But no problem, we will be doing that in the next few weeks. That's one particular witness. And and there's a few people lined up to film. I filmed a few weeks ago when we talk about bringing down the light and that guy on street corner. I actually filmed the barber. I've done it twice now. Once set up in conditions in our room, but also in the barber shop, which has come out even better. So there's that, and I've also got filming to do with Chris Turner, because it's just, I don't know, life's just got in way for Les. It's got in way for me and Chris, but there's only so many hours in a day, and we will get to it. We do want to get it done, and I don't want another. Even though we've been on with this one a year and we haven't got even half at footage, I don't want another 3-year job. We need to get stuck into it. So, yeah,
okay,
we need to get some done.
Yeah, Kings. Paul, just watched Dane's Dyke video, and isn't it quite common to hear mechanical sounds? Have you heard them yourself up there?
I've never heard them in Dane's Dyke. I'll just call you Kay. I've never heard them in Dane's Dyke. But we've heard unusual sounds up on the cliffs, and we touched on that earlier. But it weren't like what this young fella heard. But I noticed in comments in the strange sounds in Dane's Dyke, and I really appreciate it that Dave Barker, who lived opposite Dane's Dyke for many years, literally a field away, dropped in. I've heard the steel girder type sounds clanging in the night in the dike and things. And I appreciated that, Dave, even if you just sat watching this or you hear that afterwards, because I'll be chasing you up in next week to maybe get you to just add a little bit more meat to bones of what this young fella's had to add. So, yeah.
Mark Anderson, folks, does anyone see pinpricks of light? Do you think there's something to them, or is it just my imagination?
It's not your imagination, Mark. It's definitely not your imagination. We go up onto the cliff tops. I'm so pleased that once again, it's one of those anomalies that you wouldn't think means anything. I mean, I bet we all in his everyday life, I don't know, going for a walk with dog and something, we might have seen them, but we just pay no attention to them. But we've been seeing them up in the grass on the cliff tops and seeing like a torch. I haven't seen the torch beam. Jeremy did, just switch on, switch off. Up on Staxton Wold several years ago, myself and Steve Aspridge were watching the lights in the grass. Could it be some insect? The way Jeremy described the torch beam coming on, the torchlight coming on and off, no. Could the pinpricks of light in the grass, Mark, be some kind of insect? I'd say possibly. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's not forced to be anything paranormal, but we have seen them, yeah.
Okay. Chris O'Neill, Paul, do you use any night vision goggles? If so, do you get any strange sightings?
I had some proper military grade night vision goggles, which a former military man let me use. I've since returned them, but I use a thermal camera, a pulsar thermal. We use a Psionics camera. I've got an infrared, a Canon, with all filters stripped out infrared camera, which I used when I was with Martin Abbas in Danes Dyke earlier this week. And I took about 100 pictures. There were nothing on them. And other than that, Sony cameras, you name it, Les will tell you. And I think Les spends more than me. We've spent thousands of pounds on cameras, and not hundreds, thousands and thousands of pounds. More than we'll ever recoup from Wolflands, let's put it that way. Well, there you go.
Yeah, Karen Beeman, have you or any of your team had any images, thoughts, or other impressions put into your head whilst you've been out there before you've gone somewhere, like giving you a preview to the events?
No. Well, that's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know, Karen, is the answer to that.
She's talking about, really, isn't she?
Yeah, but I don't know if I've never done the Stephen Greer stuff ever until not with in any depth until Friday, and we sat in a remote part of Danes Dyke, away from anybody, early evening, and the recording was played, and this is going to sound stupid because I've never done it, but I got an impression in my mind of a diamond pointing down with light. So it doesn't quite answer your question, Karen, but that's what came into my mind as we sat there. and we've got seats, bear in mind, because there's 2 seats being left in Dyke from where Peter used to live. That's why it were remote, because we went to his spot. And no, lo and behold, the guy sat next to me said the same thing. And I'm reluctant to say his name because he might not want to say it, but he said the same thing. He'd seen a diamond shaped pointing down. Don't know what that means. Is it coincidence? But I can't relate to anything that you've put directly in your question, Karen. But I suppose that's close.
1423, and I think these entities must be putting people and animals into some sort of frozen state, something where we aren't supposed to feel or remember anything. Maybe just as well.
Well, yeah, maybe it is just as well. You know,
that's a good theory.
In 1998, Les, when that happened to me, what time are we? Oh Christ, we've only got 5 minutes. And whatever happening on my back and the pain, maybe it was just as well that I think I passed out. Maybe it was just as well. All right, just go to this one. Because I can just see it in small letters. The triangle in your mind, Paul, Danes Dyke. Yeah, Martin, it's strange because we added to it because he said he could see a vortex pointing down and light emanating from it. And yeah, anyway, we're not doing that, but thank you, Martin.
Yeah, and thanks for all the support tonight, guys, on the stream. And I've got to thank people who've made the monetary donations tonight to the channel. Joe, Rick Beerman, and Lee Roscoe. Thank you immensely.
Can I just jump in with thanks, Les? Sorry, I just need to do this because it relates to what we've been talking about. Dave Barker, is there a time of night when things are more likely to appear on the cliffs? Oh, sorry, Dave, because I thought you were going to talk about the girder sounds that you'd heard. I just saw your name pop up. I don't think there's a time of night, Dave. No, I think these things can happen anytime, to be honest with you. I really do. And yeah, trail cams, Peter Leach. Yeah, there's 2 up in Danes Dyke now, mate. And I'm not bothered about saying it because if they can find them where I've put them, they can keep them.
Mike the Disabled Welshman, when the new documentary is finished, how long will it be before it is ready for viewing?
Well, yes, ask Les that one. You know, because he does most of the editing. I sit here and we have joint screens. He's in Hull, I'm here in Bridlington, and I'm usually just playing hell up with him and falling out with him because I'm not happy with something. Is that right, Les?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah.
But then, well, I'll put it like this, Disabled Welshman, is that we're collecting accounts as we go along, like we've done with the first Wolflands film. So, and then we edit as we go along. So until we know that we've got enough really, really interesting stories for a documentary, then that's the point we can only say, you know, then that would be, I don't know, probably about 3 months after that before we get the music on, and then we get it distributed onto Amazon. So we don't know when that will be, no.
And thanks for that, Les, and thanks, Mike, for the question. And because I know Les has wanted to close it down in a minute, but I can see Tony Worrell has just put a question, not a question as much as he's seen the YouTube called the Wessex Monster. I haven't, Tony, but I've flagged your name up because next week you're, or in the next 2 weeks, should I say, that you're going to be sharing some of your stories and accounts with us. So I just thought I'd get that one in. And Heidi, thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight and sharing those wonderful, if they were wonderful, experiences and recollections.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Paul and Les and everybody else. Hope it didn't bore you. And just, it's a huge honour, Paul, because you just do so much good and you're just top of the field. And we are very, very grateful for you both. So thank you. All of us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you. And
Really
just a reminder, if anybody's got any similar accounts, well, not similar, but any interesting accounts that they want to tell, just like Heidi and just like Tony Worrell did previous week, then please get
Tony's in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you. On that note, we are good to go. And thank everybody for being into the stream tonight. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Heidi, for a great
and Alison.
stream. And Alison for doing the moderating. Never forgot Alison. Sorry about that.
No.
Yeah. So thank you. We'll see you on Thursday. We'll go live stream.
We have a live stream, and on Thursday we're going to be talking to Brian Allen and Philip Mantle. So they're both going to be, so between Brian Allen, Philip Mantle, Les Drake, and Paul Sinclair, there's about 500 years of people sat there. So, we shall see where that one goes. So questions for them two, please.
So thanks everybody for participating in the draw tonight. And as Paul said, we'll probably do one or two in the next few weeks.
I think so, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, one or two more, I should say. On that note, then, we are good to go, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.